We are truly impressed by the mandate that HRA, DSS, and the Department of Homeless Services has to really take care of and make sure provide the safety net for New Yorkers. And there's no more important work being done in this city. I think there's no more difficult work. And I think there's no more work that comes under such a harsh spotlight. And so that is why we're particularly pleased to be here honoring 2 employees of HRA. And we had such a good time. When we honored Deborah Holt Knight, it was that we wanted to come back again. I think of Martin Luther King often these days, and I think of this quote when I think of HRA, because he said, "We must come to see that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and persistent work of people, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the forces of social stagnation." And it's really this hard work from the beginning, the early years of the crisis of HIV/AIDS. David entered city government, and he has stayed there. He's had many opportunities for promotion, to take other jobs, but he has said, "This is my job, this is where I belong." And how wonderful to have the self-knowledge to actually know where you do belong and to stick with it. Because there are all these pressures on everyone, do more, get promoted, do this, da-da-da. But to stay, know yourself and to stay. And the quote that we have that we put in the program that I love, someone said, "David is a humanist. He deeply loves the clients he serves, and his knowledge of public policy borders on brilliance." And we've done a video, and when you see it tonight or you turn on and see it on the internet, you will understand what that means. You would never argue with David about any policy question. He's the expert, everyone, on everything from determining emergency housing eligibility to budgeting a client's unique medical expenses. Everyone relies on David. And how lucky for the citizens, residents of New York City, that they who have HIV/AIDS, that they have you to turn to and all the agencies that serve them. So we have 2 parts to the award, 3 if you count tonight. But to present one, I have the pleasure of introducing the chairman of the Funds Board, Lisette Nieves, a native New Yorker, went to John Dewey High School, graduated from Brooklyn College, was a Rhodes Scholar, has worked for city government, has worked in the private sector, was on Barack Obama's commission on Latina and Latino education, and is currently, I'm leaving off a million things, and is currently a clinical professor at NYU.
Hi, I get to do one of the first, as we say, part 1 of the many parts of the congratulations today. But I wanted to start by saying something very few people know about me. I'm looking for the honoree. Where is he? Where is he? Is that I actually started my advocacy career working in the first AIDS long-term care facility at Goldwater Memorial Hospital in '87. And I remember filling out forms this thick because everyone was afraid to go work on that ward. And this was a time when the New York Times said you could get it by kissing. Remember this? I want folks to put this in context. So when we think about David and everything that you've done, you came to this work at a time when people were afraid and you stood up bold. And I have to tell you, when we were discharging people, we knew where they could get services. And if it were not for the city to stand up at that time, I really don't know what the count could have been of those who would have died. So I say that to you humbly, my personal gratitude, and for all those people who were not here to get the services that deserve to get those services, but now are because you are here. So I'd love to call you up. and give you what we call the physical representation of what it means to be a true advocate of excellence and commitment. And this is the beautiful. Came out nice, right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Almost. Let's stay right here while we present another part of the award. And to present that thing, we search for public service award winners. We spend about 8 months in the process, and we get nominations, and we check them out. But we don't stick with the nominee. So if someone said, John Kornowski, you ought to check him out, he'd be really good at X, we'd start calling, but they might say, oh, the person you really should be seeing is so-and-so. So then we go over and check that person out, see what we hear until we land on somebody who, like David, really is the real deal as a representative of the best in government. So in this process, I called someone that we had who had been referred to us over the years of the Department of Health, Dan Cass. And it turns out that Dan Cass, where are you, Dan? You're right here, had already left government. He didn't stay around long. And so his punishment was to be asked to serve on the selection panel. And his comments about the work that you do, who you are and how you do it, were so impressive. During the deliberations of the selection panel, I asked Dan if he would come and present the next part of the award. Dan Cass, former Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Health at DOH, MH, and now in the private sector.
So there's very little I can say that hasn't already been said, but I do want to say a few words. One is that it's an immense honor to be part of the selection panel because we get to see extraordinary people come through, not all of whom are ultimately awarded, but it's just a joy as a former city worker. I was with the health department for 16 years to see the talent around the city, and then to think about sort of among the, out of the 360,000 plus city workers, most of whom do very good jobs, and the tens of thousands who do really exceptional work, that there still remains this, this very small number who really exemplify something extraordinary about the joy, the agony, and the opportunity for creativity of city service. And David's work, as I read it, and as I talked to people who knew him, really is one of those great stories. I want to sort of just touch on a couple of themes that emerged from the many interviews that were conducted over the course of the vetting of nominees. And there were some things that really just stood out that I thought were kind of extraordinary, the remarkable consensus of what people said about David and his history with the city and his work. We hope that the nominees reflect, the best and the brightest, but we also kind of insist that they represent what everyone in public service should aspire to. And David really demonstrates those things. So there are a few traits that everyone really kind of commented on that we can constellate around for David. One is selflessness. It's been mentioned already. Foregoing opportunities for personal advancement out of a deep commitment to see through the charge of the work of HASA and the important work of eligibility determination that David does has been really noticed by many people. Creativity. Many people spoke about your capacity to find really creative solutions to vexing and seemingly intractable problems. That's really the nature of what we hope that our public servants can do. Expertise. That's hard to do, especially in such a changing landscape over the 29 years of the regulatory and the legislative and the fiscal aspects of the work that's done at HASA. And everyone commented on the fact that they could turn to David for expertise. Fourth, attention to operational detail. Many people commented on the fact that it's one thing to be an expert, it's one thing to be committed, but it's quite another to transfer the skills and the passion to the people who you work with and who work under you. And that is really the mark of just a tremendous public servant, and everyone noticed it and everyone is appreciative of it. And then lastly, and I'll start tearing up probably, is humanity. People representing a vast array of stakeholders. And I think we know who these stakeholders are in this world, and between all of us, they're not easy to work with, all of them. All of them spoke about how lovely it was how lovely it's been to work with you. One person said that you always add the essential touch of humanity and kindness whenever a client comes your way. I come out of the public health world. We tend to focus on the mechanisms of illness and sort of treatment and some preventive strategies, education. We often fail to fully appreciate what it means to really work upstream, what it means to really address the real determinants of illness and what happens with the course of the illness. Your work to ensure that to the extent at all practical people have the financial resources, the housing security, and the respect of the city to seek treatment and persevere in life is just it's made a huge difference. And it's no wonder, because of your work, that New York City really has no rival with respect to survival rates, longevity, and thriving when living with HIV. So thank you very much. This is great. This, on behalf of the Sloan Public Service Awards, is a check written to you for $10,000. You just sign it right back here. So there you go.
Okay, I'm kind of speechless, which if anybody really knows me, that's totally not one of the things that you would associate with me. I would like to thank Commissioner Banks and Grace, Annette, Jackie, Sam. I couldn't do it without all of you guys. I want to, glad Sam gave a shout out to all of the staff at administration, my staff that I directly supervise. I could never do it without them. I love you guys, I appreciate you. You work very hard. We all are a team. I share this with all of you. I'm truly grateful. 29 years ago, I would have never thought I would possibly still be working here, let alone be honored in this way. And it truly is touching, and I just want to thank everyone. And again, I share this with my whole HASA family. Thank you.
One more question. You said you were going to share it. What do you really mean you're going to share it? Give it up for David. And now to present the award, Sandy Bryant Townsend is the